inviting me. Welcome everyone. Today's presentation is Modern Navigation Requires Modern Training. Modern technologies develop at a lightning speed and they are adopted by our industry quicker than ever. And it's quite fascinating for us ashore, but these technological advancements present a real challenge to our seafarers on board, because seafarers do not have any other choice than to adapt to these technologies. It's quite literally a sink or swim situation for them. And it's the responsibility of everyone in the maritime industry to support the upskilling and the future-proofing of global crews, to help them become our crew of the future. We can only achieve this by ensuring the training delivers to the point. We need to utilize the most effective learning methodologies, technologies, and to ensure that the largest impact possible is achieved on the development of the current as well as the next generation of seafarers. My name is Marvin Bielek. I'm a nautical author, project manager and trainer at MINTRA, and I'm working with safety critical training since 2014, after I became a nautical officer and developed a passion for navigational safety. My focus was always on how modern technology can actually serve the navigation officers and the overall safety of the vessel, be it bridge layout, software interface, training design. So, what do I mean with technological development? The use of augmented reality on board, for example. By the end of this year, there will be an estimated 1.4 billion users of AR devices globally, not just in the maritime industry, globally. But 63% of companies that adopt AR devices are using it for training and for education. Another example about which we talked already today are maritime autonomous surface vessels, or MISS, MAS. I think each of you has also seen a few headlines about such vessels. They are popping up every now and then. But by now, it's not just a few of them. There are more than 1,000 autonomous vessels in operation. It's a huge number already. Of course, there are trials for now. They're in various stages, coastal, short ranges. But still, most operators are confident that they can become fully operational within 20 years. So before 2040 even. Now, technological development doesn't always look that futuristic. Some changes are more operational. One of the big topics in all industries is big data. Data collection, solid analysis, and prediction based on the data. And it can be applied to so many areas within the maritime industry. Competence management for personnel, spare part management and maintenance, other kind of procurement. Of course, also for cargo handling and for navigation too. So, what do you guys guess? How many data points does the maritime industry generate per day? It's about 100 to 120 million of data points every day, just within the maritime industry. That's an incredibly huge amount of data. But not all changes come that naturally. Some changes have to be pushed a little bit. I think we heard quite a lot about this in the previous panel. Regulatory changes like the EEXI and CII drive green technologies, and they drive alternative fuels, biofuels, green fuels. IMO aims for the emission reduction of 50% for all vessels by 2050. But as we heard, it's maybe not realistic or maybe very difficult economically. McKinsey estimated that the cost of zero-emission fuels would currently increase operating costs by 40 to 60%. So yeah, economically, maybe not possible right now. So owners are looking for alternatives, and all technology providers offer various solutions, as we can see here. It's quite a challenge to keep up with all these technological advances, and I'm sure that's a factor when we are talking about the current skill shortage in maritime. And no wonder human error is so often listed as a contributing factor in incidents. There's a multitude of factors that influence human error. But one of the biggest ones that is constantly battled by ship operators, by crewing managers, is improper training. It's wrong to assume that if a navigation officer undergoes a lot of training, that they will gain a lot of knowledge. What we need is appropriate training, quality over quantity. And Nick mentioned it earlier, the growing complexity with added processes. It can't be battled by more and more, just by quantity. New technology has diversified navigational practices. So it needs different types of training, different procedures, and different technological solutions. But what are possible technological organizational solutions? Better scheduling, of course, ensuring that training is spread across the year, and it doesn't come in one block. Micro-learning, bit-sized learning that builds up over time. But it is not enough to just hack a large course into pieces, because that doesn't solve anything. We need also relevant input from experts, from subject matter experts. First-hand knowledge is critical when you want to present relevant information. As Evros said earlier, collaboration. We also need high-quality instructional design. Not just fancy slide design, but of course that helps because it keeps the attention of people, but it's not enough by itself. Most of all, learning content needs to be more relevant to the real world. It needs to be linked to the objective of a task. The core takeaway, the learner, especially the seafarer, should associate the how with the why. To know why they are learning something, how they apply it. For us, this comes from a close collaboration and a careful selection of our subject matter experts, for example. But all these points and many more are linked. So, how can we improve seafarer skills and competence? MINTRA has conducted a study in cooperation with a local institute to have an in-depth academic approach. Because of course we do continuously take into account user feedback, we continuously improve our courses, but the study aimed to also include existing academic literature. It's based on existing theories such as the cognitive learning theories, which deal with how learning input is processed by the learners. And we identified 3 important factors that can improve instructional design: modularity, authenticity, and interactivity. So, firstly, modularity. Training has a lot of information, and if everything is presented uninterrupted, it results in a high intrinsic cognitive load. So an easy solution is to split the course into small modules. However, if I take a single slide of this presentation, it doesn't make a micro-learning. It doesn't have a logical completeness within itself. Without this completeness, it's not a real module. Modularity is the basis for micro-learning. So whenever you are taking a micro-learning course yourself, or you book one for your seafarers, you should keep an eye open. Is it actually a modular course with a logical completeness in itself, or is it just an arbitrary bite out of a larger training? Another second important factor is authenticity, meaning realistic and authentic learning content, linked to the real-world experience of the learner. And if we come back to the earlier points, of course, this is closely linked to subject matter expert input, to have real information. It needs the knowledge and experience of a real expert to create realistic and authentic content, learning content. And only with this high authenticity can we achieve learning transfer, because learners should actually improve in their job. They shouldn't just pass an assessment, they need to improve their job, they need to gain skills. Many academic studies also identify interactivity as core to keep learners' attention. And it's an essential tool. Also when we want to change a behavior, to learn a behavior, not just knowledge. So why should you care that your crew training is interactive? Well, if we look at the maritime industry, the most critical training, all safety relevant training basically, aims to change a behavior, to improve safety consciousness, or as Captain Fraudy said earlier, to gain a safety culture on board of the ship. This can aim to reduce incidents, or even just to avoid findings during inspections. Keep that in mind. It makes sense that interactivity is in line with workplace learning trends. I mean, all the modern trends we see for learning are interactive courses, simulation training, AR, or his display here, VR. So how did it work in practice? What did we do? We applied the 3 factors identified. First of all, we measured the competence on an existing course. Then we redesigned this course, applying the 3 factors. And we measured the competence on the new course. And we found a statistically significant increase in competence gain. That means that actually the competence that learners gained from the improved course was much higher than previously. And it wasn't just a coincidence, it was statistically significant. So, I got a little bit technical in the end. Thank you for bearing with me. But what does a statistically significant increase in competence gain actually mean? I mean, what does it do for you as operators, crewing managers, or as learners yourself? It means a better return on investment, ROI. And I hope we have some people from finance or senior management here, because usually this is the people that love a good ROI, return on investment. In our case, it means that as a learner, you get better effect for the time spent. As a crewing manager, you get more competent, better skilled crews. And as a ship operator, you get a safer ship operation. You get less incidents, especially fewer major accidents. You get better performance, which for me personally is what it's all about, to have a good performance. But of course you also get better compliance, meaning fewer findings and detentions. Thank you. If you remember one thing from all this, just take this with you. Training needs to deliver to the point. And it can, with a good return on investment. But it needs effort and experience. And it's not just worth it, it is needed for the crew of the future. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.